What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Ethereum Classic. Give you a quick overview of some of the data points, break it down what's really moving it, and then aside from that, if you need to buy the dip or not. Before I get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So currently it is down 5.98%. Looking over the last one day though, 24.61 the low, 26.92 the high. So a lot of volatility, 7.4 million in volume, and that has dropped quite significantly. You did have that nice spike recently where you did get more and more volume, but that was regrettably short-lived. Moving over here, so the crypto fear and greed index, despite the pullback today, you are still seeing it under the neutral category. So it is kind of following the trend from last year. So as what I mentioned, for the most part, this week, you should be starting to see, at least historically, a nice rotation back into a nice upward trend. So again, it might get worse before it gets better, but in theory, so far, it's actually followed the same path. And ultimately, one thing that is really driving all this fear today is what they call DeepSeek. And so a lot of people are worried about what that means for American tech. And again, when it comes down to the equity and crypto markets, in some cases for capital, yes, they're interchangeable, but for the most part, I feel like with this current problem, it is completely separate. I think, again, a lot of people just need to take a step back and realize what actually does drive crypto. That's a couple things. One is sentiment. And so that is probably what is dragging crypto in its entirety down, is the sentiment in the broader market is rather negative right now. And then over and above that, it's buying power. Buying power largely hasn't changed all that much recently. A lot of the data points that have been coming out has been fairly good. So it is just merely a sentiment. And so I think all in all, it is a kind of a big overreaction. That's just my own opinion, of course. And I think just with Trump over the next 4 years, in theory, you would assume that crypto should do fairly well. This was just announced, so Eric Trump just confirmed that US-based crypto projects will have zero capital gains. So I think there will be more of these types of things going forward. ETC doesn't qualify because obviously it's decentralized, so it's not US-based. As far as I'm aware, just a small handful of ones are US based, such as Ripple, Internet Computer, and so forth. So ETC regrettably won't really benefit all that much from this, but I think under a Trump administration, you should just see more eyes on crypto in its entirety. But as of right now, it's just a little bit more of a sell-off. So Bitcoin is once again below that kind of iconic 100,000. Ethereum's pulling back 7.8. Ripple is down below that $3 mark, still holding that third place though based on market cap. And then moving all the way down, you have good old ETC sitting at 36. So still getting hit alongside many of the other coins around it, but ultimately it is still losing more and more popularity. My last video, I think it was at 34, and when I started covering it, it was like, I think 16, 17 for the most part, sitting at the market cap. So it has lost a lot, and that's just because of the lack of innovation coming from just the ecosystem in its entirety. So I think over the next couple of years, people are going to be really looking at utility. And if not, then it's just going to get left in the dust. And ETC has always struggled with that because you've had a lot of shorts getting in, and no different than recently as well. So based on this, you've seen some liquidation. So when it started to gain some popularity, when it kind of hit roughly like that $37 range, you did have a lot of activity from shorts. So a lot of liquidations. Recently, it's actually been longs. So that's what really broke the trend, is just longs closing their positions. And so even on the 26th, you did have 2.67 million in longs liquidating their position, 56,000 in shorts. So very, very one-sided. Even the couple days prior, same type of scenario, just on a lower scale. But yeah, as of right now, nothing really specific to ETC to really drive actual buying, aside from just technicals and just the broader market. And moving over to here though, with that 25 and change, it is trading between this pivot and this S1. So $25 is going to be that key support to really watch for in the short term, followed by 23.93. So that's if the kind of fear does magnify over the next couple of trading days as well. on Wednesday, you do have Powell. So Powell is going to be talking on interest rates. And so most likely this time around, there won't be any change. But going forward, you have, even at the World Economic Forum recently, them stating that you might actually need to raise rates. And that in among itself would really spark the hell out of the broader market and crypto. So because that, like I said, going back to those 2 points, raising of rates does really directly hurt the buying power of consumers. So all in all, that's some things to keep in mind. $26.72 and then $28.45 are going to be the next strong target / resistance points. Moving over to the actual chart itself. So I have the 1-day chart up, have the 50, 100 day moving averages, ALMA, and super trend. So this chart shows a full breakdown. So it is going to be more linked to this for support levels, because yeah, as of this, it does show more of a pullback. Even looking at the stochastic RSI, it is rather neutral. You have a bearish deviation, but it's not considered overbought nor oversold. So I think ultimately you're going to be seeing a little bit more of more pain, essentially. Again, my own interpretation and stuff. And you have to keep in mind, a lot of these videos, they're just short term, what's going to be happening in the, like right now, what's going to be happening in the next week, couple weeks. But if you believe in ETC and just cryptocurrency bigger picture, then yeah, don't really worry about this price action all that much. But looking at the 4-hour chart, this is where you're seeing the full breakdown that pretty much started first thing this morning. So it did break below all the key pivotal moving averages. Right now, still holding below that ALMA, so signaling more downside. Very oversold on that capacity. So yeah, I think all of this is going to roll into the 1 day, because the 4-hour goes into the 1 hour into the 4-hour, and so forth. So yeah, based on this, it does look like most likely there will be a retest of this $25 range, and probably in the foreseeable future just trade between this S1 and this S2. And then whether we have good data coming from Wednesday or not, that might be that recovery that we need, or potentially break it into this S3 range. So let me know your thoughts on ETC. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon. Launched it roughly around 2 months ago. I give buy signals on stocks, options, and crypto. Many of them have been absolute bangers, including this right here. So I called the bottom right here, and I gave a target of 3.5 cents. It did go up a little bit more than that, but still very, very good return. So definitely worthwhile to pop over to my Patreon and take a look. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.